New this morning, a federal judge has blocked the Trump administration from sending the National Guard into Portland. The White House is planning to appeal. Now, in her opinion, the judge described recent clashes between protesters and federal officers as inexcusable. Oregon's Attorney General agrees.
Mobilizing the United States military in our cities is not normal. It should not be normal, and we will fight to make sure that it is never normal. Today's ruling is a healthy check on the president's power, and as the president, you must have an actual facts based on reality, not social media or just your gut feeling if you want to mobilize the military here in the United States.
For more on the judge's ruling and what's next for Portland, here's CNN's Julia Vargas Jones. Julia.
Victor, what this decision is doing is basically pressing pause on the deployment of the National Guard to Oregon. The question that the Judge Karin Immergut, a Trump appointee, I should add, had to answer was this an overreach by the federal government to federalize the National Guard? In the complaint, both the state of Oregon and the city of Portland had called this deployment unlawful and unwarranted, but there were three basic pillars that her decision was based on. One of them is Section 12406 of the U.S. Code. It says basically that the president exceeded his authority here and that he did not prove that he was, quote, unable with regular forces to execute the laws there. A second one is the concept of rebellion. The standard for rebellion here was not met. She said that the protests were recently small and mostly peaceful. There were some sporadic incidents, but it wasn't an organized and armed rebellion as the federal government was using to justify this deployment. And thirdly, the conflict with the 10th Amendment. She said that this federalization of the National Guard would be invading the state's sovereignty. And then she talked even further about how unwarranted this was, citing the positions from local law enforcement in Portland, saying that in recent weeks, there were about 20 people, give or take, at these protests. There was minimal activity, and the regular forces in Portland itself would have been able to handle this very well. Now, what's notable here is when the judge got into talking about the history of the United States and military power. She said, quote, "This country has a long-standing and foundational tradition of resistance to government overreach, especially in the form of military intrusion into civil affairs." She says the U.S. is a nation of constitutional law, not martial law, and that, quote, defendants, so this is the federal government, have made a range of arguments that, if accepted, risk blurring the line between civil and military federal power to the detriment of this nation. Now, Victor, this decision is only good for 14 days, and the court will contact all parties on October 17th to see if there is a need for an extension.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.